I'm Jolynn from The Real McNeils. Welcome to our channel. There is something I've been working on for a while now, thinking about how to talk about it on our YouTube channel, figuring out the words to say, the way that I can use this to reach out to help other people. So welcome if you're here today. You will have noticed by the title of this video, it's a little bit different. It's being more real about what's going on in our lives. And it's something that we've reached the point that we're ready to share and ready to talk about. Some of my first thoughts when it came around to talking about this, and this is something that has been kind of stewing in my mind for a while, is when you're handed a baby, no matter how it came to be in your arms, your child, there is no ceremony, there is no pledge of vows to that child. But in your heart, you know that you will do absolutely everything you can to love and protect. And it is like a to death do us part type of situation. You will do anything for your child. And some of us have felt that the first time that baby's laid in our arms, especially after going through really hard pregnancies or knowing that there's something wrong and waiting to see how that's going to work out when a baby is born, that baby makes it and you think they're healthy, we made it, it's good. And it is good. I never ever thought of the fact that one of my children could get sick or hurt later on in life and that it could change my life. And obviously I'm here telling you that because that is our situation. Our daughter Bailey has suffered from chronic pain for somewhere between 4 and 5 years now. I don't have a specific date. It's not like one day you just wake up and that's how things are. It's more like these things happen in a process and over time. And I want to share our story because of the fact that there are people out there who have parented through chronic pain, who have been the parent that goes to all of the appointments and waits for diagnosis, and you get diagnosed with that and you get diagnosed with this, and your child is poked and prodded and you advocate for them. And I am that parent, and I know how alone it can feel. I know how hard it can be. And even then, when we were going through the worst of it, I kept thinking that there has to be a way that we parents can reach out and touch each other. And never ever would I have thought that I would start a YouTube channel at that point in time. But here I am. And over the course of having our YouTube channel, I kept thinking, there's a reason for this channel. There's a reason that we're here doing this. And what is that reason? And the reason is in our name, The Real McNeils. It's about being real. And so today I'm going to be real with you, and it may not be easy and there will probably be another video after this one. But first of all, I want to talk about Bailey's journey. When Bailey was around 15, everything was great. She was in grade 8 piano, she was in Calgary Police Cadets, she was an overachiever, she was a fantastic student, pulling really good grades. And then it just started to shift. And one of the things that we feel like we can link it back to is the possibility of it was a fall down the stairs and her leg started hurting and she started dragging that leg and having a hard time walking and things like that. And so we started looking into that and trying to take care of that, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. It started out as a little thing and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I honestly can't remember all of the details because we have 6 kids. There were other things in there. Our oldest son got some major concussions during that time, and we were dealing with those also, and severe post-concussion issues. And so, like I said, I don't know specific dates, I don't know specific times. We've been asked so many times how it started. Can we pinpoint an event that happened? And the only event we could possibly think of would be Bailey falling down the stairs. So before we knew it, we were at our doctor going, okay, this pain now is in her stomach and she's getting migraines and she's not well. And at that point, I believe things had just started spiraling so quickly that Bailey was barely even able to get out of bed. She was suffering 24 hours a day, and we had her in the doctor and he sent us to a pediatrician. As you can imagine, it takes time to get into appointments, especially in a healthcare where everything is paid for. There are no complaints there. It just takes a long time to get into different specialists, and we saw all sorts of different specialists. We waited a long time to see a GI specialist who basically saw Bailey and immediately said, this isn't it. And we waited for different tests. We waited for all sorts of different things. And during that time, Bailey was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and was not able to function, and her quality of life was going downhill. Sicker isn't the right term. She was experiencing more and more pain. We were finding that we couldn't get the pain to let up. She was having full-blown migraines that were keeping her in bed. Her migraines could last for extended periods of time, and she was suffering greatly. It reached the point where she just wasn't functioning at all, and it took a lot of work to get her out of bed and to be able to feed her. So during this time, of course, she could no longer do piano and she could no longer do school. So then the emails start with telling teachers, I'm sorry, she can't even do the work right now, let alone anything else. And that communication was really hard too. When you're in the middle of experiencing a child going through all sorts of horrible pain and you're having unimaginable things going through your head as to what it could be, there's no explanation. Your fears are great. Your worries are huge. You're trying to figure those things out, and on top of it, you're trying to navigate teachers and activities that she was involved in and things like that. Now, we've never been a family who has had our kids extremely involved in things, and so there weren't a lot of things. But for each of those things where it was a final, she can't do this anymore, we don't know when she'll be back, it was so hard. It was, I remember one day specifically when we went and had to drop something off to create an ending to one of the activities that she was involved in, and it just feeling like it felt like saying, I give up. I didn't give up, but it felt like I was saying I give up. And there were times in there where the hope was gone. You may not give up because you can't. You're the mom, you're the dad, you're the parent, you're the caregiver. You can't give up, but your hope dies sometimes. And that is so dark. It's such a dark place to be. And during those periods of waiting for this appointment or that appointment, you would hope that that doctor would have the answer that would cause things to kind of come back into shape, that this would be fixable, that this would be something that it would take a prescription or some therapy or things like that in order to bring everything back into line and give your child back their life. That isn't always the way that it works out. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that we've been going through a process. You've seen that Bailey has had blood work done. Right now we're currently waiting on a different type of doctor, somebody who has some experience with Lyme's disease and autoimmune diseases. The one thing that we do know right now is that Bailey has an autoimmune disease. This is the first time that anything has ever shown in all of the blood work that we've ever done. Even that is defeating at times. There were times when Bailey and I would walk out of one appointment or another and see a child in a wheelchair or different things. You see many, many things when you're at a children's hospital, but you would see these things, and as you would leave, it was just like this silence would come over both of us. And we would go and we would get out to the car, and it's like we would look at each other and go, it could be worse. It could be worse. We were reminded many times over, it could be worse. But that doesn't belittle what you're going through. What you're going through is your own mountain to climb, and it's a really, really hard mountain to climb, and we know we know what it's like. After all of the different doctors and things that Bailey went to, they couldn't find anything. They never really did. They diagnosed her with what's called functional abdominal pain. And that basically means, hey, you have pain in your stomach. And so it's true, that's what she had. But deep down, I always knew that there was something more. I knew that there was something causing the pain. I don't believe, for the most part, that people just start experiencing pain without there being a reason, without there being something that is causing, without there being something wrong. And even at the beginning, I took her to our naturopath. It's someone that I had seen for years and years, and I had had success with. And even through that, seeing her, she told us, don't give up, don't stop. There's some sort of infection in Bailey's body. And so after years of nobody finding anything, it was frustrating, it was defeating. This was the name of what they gave us, just functional abdominal pain. This is what you have. Basically, they couldn't find anything, and this is what they name it. They say that it happens in girls who are overachievers, that have really good grades, that are like excellent students, and smart girls who try really hard. And so at that point, it was like, what do I do? Sometimes when you're going through really hard things like that, you actually accept the diagnosis and you go, this is what it is, and there's no hope. And hope was like this. It came and it went, and it came and it went, and it came, and sometimes it went for long periods of time where there would be no hope. Once they diagnosed Bailey, they put her into what's called a pain rehab program. And it was a very intense 6 weeks program on trying to help her learn how to deal with having chronic pain and setting her up for basically what they felt would be the rest of her life. And so she had a very intense schedule. She went in the morning. She saw probably 5 different types of caregivers. Every single one of them was fantastic. I have no complaints. They were an amazing team. I had to see a family therapist, and I spent a lot of time talking to a family therapist. Once Bailey was done her pain rehab program, there were some other things that kind of came into our lives that were really hard. And we had always talked about having this dream to pack up our family and travel and go somewhere and explore somewhere new. And honestly, Portugal was the place that we had picked out. I don't even know how Panama came on the radar at that point, but it did. And then I ended up connecting with someone who was from Panama, who had kids who homeschooled, who had a house for us to rent, who could have our internet connected by the time that we got there. And we went, we're doing this. And we packed up everything. We sold as much as we could. We packed it all up. And in the crazy process of packing, Riley went off to Kenya with his grandpa to visit the Bible school there and to help get some things sorted and settled for his grandparents there. And he didn't come with us. We continued packing. And then in February of that year, we left to go to Panama. We had tickets for 5.5 months. We went from February and we flew to Panama. We spent a couple of days in Panama City, and then we went out to Volcan, Panama. And we had some of the best months of our lives. Now, Bailey wasn't better by any stretch. Definitely being in a different place was helpful. There were a lot of emotional things attached to the old house that we lived in that were really hard for her and I. And it was just this new opportunity. And we met people that we are still friends with today who are amazing people, and we're so thankful for that season of our lives. But Bailey didn't find it really easy to be there. Being where we were before was a lot harder, but she was still in chronic pain. The chronic pain didn't go away. Knowing how to deal with the pain and all of that didn't fix the pain. It didn't change the pain. The pain was still there. And they had given her things to take not necessarily for pain, but for mental health and things like that. That's probably one of the biggest things that we found through the journey of her chronic pain, was how it affects your mental health. It affects the mental health of the caregiver, and it affects the mental health of the person who is going through such a huge amount of pain. And we have had to learn a lot. We've cried a lot, we've shared a lot, we've had to be really open with each other as much as possible because of how hard things are. And even now I can say to her, I understand how you can feel. I feel that way, but I'm not you. I don't know how you feel that in that sense. And I feel it as your mom. I don't feel it as the person going through it. At the very end of our time in Panama, we finally met a doctor we had been told about many times while we were there. He's another expat in the area. And we took Bailey to see him, and he does applied kinesiology, and within 10 minutes he had pinpointed Bailey's pain as spleen pain. He did dry needling on her, and for the first time in 3 years, Bailey was pain-free. I remember my mind being blown and thinking, why did this happen right at the end of this trip? Why couldn't we have made this connection earlier? And I'll never understand why. I guess I was hedging. People kept telling us that he could help her, and you just reach that point where it's like, really? Are you sure? Are you sure he can help? Are you sure that's going to help? People have all sorts of suggestions for you and whatnot, and you learn to accept them kindly. You realize that behind that suggestion, behind that advice, that there's a heart that cares, and they just don't know how to help. And that's one of the things that I've learned. So if you're one of those people going through this, if people give you advice, try to consider the intent of their heart and try to see through the, I know you think this will help, but it just feels like one more thing that could go wrong. Just one little thing that I would recommend. So after a week of seeing this doctor, we came back home to Canada. And in that time, in my heart already, it was like, I just want to go back. I feel like we're supposed to go back. I don't feel like we can settle down here because I feel like we finally found someone who can help. And so we went through a period of time trying to figure out what to do. We did look at houses. We moved forward with trying to go ahead with our lives here. We ended up living with my parents over the winter. And during the course of that time, Bailey got a migraine that lasted for 6 weeks. I had reached the point where I couldn't handle taking her to the hospital anymore. I couldn't handle watching her go through the IVs and things like that, because those things had gone from not being a big deal to something that she really, really struggles with. And I couldn't handle watching her go through that, so I asked Clancy to go. And he took her, and he literally came back from the hospital going, we're going back to Panama. She needs help, and this is the one place that we know where we can get help. So we packed up our family again, and we headed back to Panama. And it was with great excitement for most of us to go back, because of the fact that we had such good memories there. We had fantastic friends there, and so there was nothing but pluses from what I could feel, from what most of us felt, nothing but positives, other than leaving Riley behind. Now in that period of being back, Riley got married. Riley is our oldest son. He got married in there, and then we left again months later. So we had booked for 4.5 months down there that time. That's what we had sorted out with the doctor there, and we'd figured out that that would be enough time to try and get on top of things for Bailey. And honestly, it was literally the best 4.5 months of our lives. It was the first time we remember Bailey not being sick or in pain. And so if you haven't, we have Panama vlogs. I have a vlog list, a playlist of vlogs from Panama, and if you go there you can see. Even editing those vlogs sometimes now is hard for me because I see how healthy Bailey is, and it's a tough thing for me to watch her and see her so healthy and then skip ahead to today. So we experienced the care. We found different things that help Bailey. She has taken a lot of supplements, and she was doing fantastic. She was doing really, really well. And we came home and we bought a house and we moved into this house, and Bailey started school again because she's just trying to finish school. She's trying to get through grade 12, and things just started to slide again. So for the last year and 3 or 4 months, things have slowly slid worse and worse and worse again until she's in constant chronic pain. You will notice that you don't see her very often in our vlogs. Right now, her nights are days, her days are nights. She's lucky if she sleeps a couple of hours a night in a 2-week period. Her pain has shifted to still being migraines, but she now has intense knee pain. We are going through our family doctor at the moment and waiting. We've been waiting for a long time now to see a rheumatoid arthritis specialist, and so far haven't heard anything. Everything is really backed up because of COVID. So over the course of time, we've also started to feel like that's not where our answer lies. There's no reason for it. There's no inflammation in her blood. There's nothing. But there are times where her whole body hurts and she doesn't even know what part hurts worse because of how much pain she's in. So the chronic pain is back like a beast, and that's what we're navigating. Right now, we are doing our best to figure out how to move forward. Last week was a really, really hard week. It was just so tough. So we've had 2 periods in here in the last couple of weeks that have been really, really hard. The first of those was getting a diagnosis of her thyroid showing an autoimmune problem. And just, in a way, it's like this is the first time anything has ever shown up in her blood. And that was a good thing, because at least there's something there. You start to think that maybe it's not real. It's like there's just something mental going on or things like that, and it's defeating. And so it was the first time where it was like, no, there's actually something there. And so it was helpful, but also hopeless at the same time, because when I ask our doctor what to do about it, it's just wait. Just wait until it turns into hypothyroidism, and then we'll treat it. Whereas, on the other hand, I don't want to be reactive. I want to be proactive. I know there's things that we can do to help this, to help it from getting to that space, and to help her from getting to the place where she needs all of these thyroid meds. And it's been a couple of weeks of, I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. And it has been so hard. So hard. I'm actually really proud of myself for getting through this without crying at this point. At one point I reached the stage where I had somebody who wanted to chat with me, and I said, you know what, I can't handle crying anymore, and I need to not talk right now. I just need to be with my family. We've had one good day in there. Bailey was up during the day. It's the first time I remember in the last month and a half where she's been awake during the daytime, and she and I had a lot of time together that day. She bathed the dog, she did all sorts of things, but we had time together. And her siblings were so excited when they came home from school and she was up, because they miss her. They miss the days where she's healthy, because she's a lot of fun and she plays with them, and she's an amazing big sister. So we're back to chronic pain. We're back to trying to figure out what to do with it. We're back to feelings of hopelessness at times because of how hard this really is. And it takes me back to the days of wondering what's going on and all of the emotional and mental things that I went through. And through that process, I realized that I have a platform now where I can reach out to other people. There is a community of people out there who are going through these types of things personally, or for their child, or for their parent or their aunt or their uncle, or some sort of member in their family or their loved ones that is going through chronic pain and being a support person, or going through chronic pain itself. When Bailey wants to share her story, if she does, she will share it. I have asked her permission to be able to share this so that I can reach out. But I started to feel in my heart that I need to do something. And this is something that I can do. And if you are that person, if this is speaking to you, please reach out. My email is in the description box. Leave comments down below. I want to create a place where people can talk about this. The first thing I wanted to do when I found out that she had an autoimmune marker in her blood was reach out to someone who had been through what I'm going through. And thankfully, there's one person in my life, I'm not super close to her, but I reached out to her and went, what did you do? What doctor did you see? And just like looking for hope, looking for someone who can help us, someone who's been through it, and her daughter is doing so much better now, and just having someone that I could talk to about it and knowing I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who has felt helpless. I'm not the only person who has felt hopeless. I'm not the only person who has felt like they didn't advocate enough or they didn't do enough for their child. I'm not the only person who has gone to bed at night and just felt the darkness closing in because I can't control anything that's going on. You're at the mercy of whatever this is that's affecting her body. And now there are times too where I felt so angry. I felt so mad that her childhood has been stolen from her. That has probably been one of the toughest things for me, is just knowing that I can't give that back to her, that her childhood will never be the same. She's never going to get to relive those years. And even there are members of the family who say that she was the one who instigated like all of the fun play when we would get together at my parents' house, that she was the kid who was down in the fields with a knife, cutting the grass and making teepees in the field and dragging sticks and twine in and tying them up and creating these elaborate teepees that the kids played in by the hour. And she's just always been that person, and her sparkle is gone. Her spark and her zest for life have been snuffed, and she's struggling, and that is real. That is what we're going through right now. And life goes on. I've been so thankful for our large family and for my need to be busy, because it helps me. I have to get up, I have to keep going, I have to get kids to school, I have to make lunches, I have to make supper, I have all these things I have to do, and it makes me thankful. It makes me thankful that I can't just sit and think about this. I can't just sit on the internet and try to find answers. I can't just sit. I can't just wait. So the one thing that we do know right now is that there is a traditional Chinese medicine doctor who has been very successful with autoimmune. And right now, today, even now, I've got my cell phone right here. I'm waiting for a call. They called on Friday saying, we haven't forgotten you. I've been waiting for a while. And they're phoning today, and we're hoping that this will be the first doctor that we can talk to who doesn't go, well, let's treat this little pain and let's treat that little pain, and you should go see this specialist and you should go see that specialist. But we'll be able to look at all of the things in one complete package and go, these things make sense. That's what we're hoping for. And I know that there are other people out there who are hoping for those same things, or maybe you don't have the finances to do it. And set up a GoFundMe. We've been encouraged to set up a GoFundMe. There is a doctor that we could go to here that costs many, many thousands of dollars. And at this point, we're trying a few other avenues first. But I just want to reach out from my heart and say, if you are going through those things, you're not alone. I'm going through it. Bailey's going through it. Our family's going through it. Our family has been touched by a child going through chronic pain for many years, and it affects you. You can see it in Addison's face when she comes through the door and her big sister is awake, and she will sit there and just chitter-chatter her ear off. Or last night it was sitting on the stairs because Bailey was up before she went to bed and just looking at the catalog of little model horses. And I see Tegan like wanting to ask her questions and be with her, and we miss her. And that is because of what chronic pain has done. So if this is something that touches you, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. This is something that has affected our whole entire family, mostly Bailey, but it ripples out and it affects those around. Thank you so much for watching, for sticking with me through all of this. I didn't cry too much, but I just wanted to be real, and this was the next step of being real as part of our family, The Real McNeils, and part of our YouTube channel. I am here to be honest with you. I'm sure that now I can talk about how I'm feeling, and there will be some understanding there of why I'm feeling that way. For the most part, you guys only see like a little 10-minute section of our day, but sometimes those days are really, really hard, and I'm not gonna lie. And this gives me the opportunity to be more open and honest about what's going on in our lives. Thank you so much for watching.